Whenever you want to start.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, Waffle fam. How are you doing? This is your friend Matt, the Sage of Sorcery, and Jessie, Nerd in Real Life, and we are here with episode 10 of the Waffle Press. Boom. Jessie, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am absolutely fantabulous. I am ready to talk about another exciting episode of Dice Camera Action, and lots to say about this episode. So why don't we just head straight into what works and what irks? Sound good?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So the first thing, I always like to lead with a positive, right?
Of course.
There are things that maybe Jessie and I feel might have gone differently with this last episode. It doesn't mean we don't love the crew. Doesn't mean we don't love Perkins.
Oh, no, it's nothing personal against the crew. It's, nothing against anyone involved. It's just as a viewer, we're starting to notice a couple trends that we find worrisome, let's say.
That's a good way of putting it. But we're going to start with the positive because there are a couple of things that I love. Okay?
Absolutely.
The first thing that I loved that I really thought worked was when Diath is coming out of the church and he yells, "It's going to blow!" I'm sitting there, and the first thing that popped into my head was suboptimal crowd control.
Yeah, exactly.
Way to yell fire in a crowded theater, Diath. That's exactly what...
Anything that they got to do in this particular episode where they just got to have fun and be silly and relax was... I loved seeing it. It was very refreshing.
I did too. And I'll tell you what else I loved. I fully expected, given the way that Chris has just been kind of pounding them into mush, I fully expected that when Diath yelled that out, that he was going to maybe have somebody get trampled and die because, and then of course, and then instead of 10 dwarves coming in to say that they owe a life debt, then it's 10 elves or 10 halflings or 10 furry little pixies saying somebody got trampled. Now they owe another life debt. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, is Chris going to pounce on this? Is he going to kill someone?
Yeah.
But I figured he was planning more tragedy for something else. So anyway, that was my feeling on that. Did you like that too, or was it just me?
Well, one of the first bits that really jumped out to me was there were two things between the girls. When this is probably later in the episode, I literally just watched it the other night, so I'm sorry if I don't have it all committed to memory. But when Holly yelled, "I made you snacks," that one got me. And then Evelyn finally getting to explore the shield a little more.
Yes.
And Anna just completely running with the whole emoji theme.
Yes.
Was marvelous. I loved it.
I liked that too. I have a couple more thoughts about that, so we'll get into that again, because I want to talk about that again. But I was going to ask you too about the Xanathar. So let's talk about the interlude that we had with the Xanathar. First things first.
I need help, because as a viewer... Because there's the Xanathar, and then what else is after them? Because there's a similar weird-sounding group, and I have not figured out for myself how to tell them apart.
So there's the Xanathar who's after them, and they're these dwarves that they owe this huge sum of money, a death bond to, or something like that. And then there's the church problem that they've also got juggling right now.
But
and
it's
then
the Xanathar and the Zentarum, isn't it?
The Zentarum, yeah.
Those two are they sound the same. Help me out here. Oh,
sure, no problem. Well, and if it's confusing to you, I'm willing to bet it's confusing to a lot of our viewers too. So go ahead and lay that out. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss with you about the Xanathar is Chris has made him the villain who breaks the fourth wall, kind of emulating Paultin's style. He started with that whole the Xanathar. The Xanathar, how do I know? I looked at Perkins' notes, or whatnot. Yeah. So how do you feel about him breaking the fourth wall? Do you think he's doing it too much? Do you think it's just the right amount? How do you feel about that?
Personally, I think it's turning into overkill.
Yeah.
Personally. If if other people like it, fantastic. It's something else for them to enjoy. For me, it's like, it almost feels like there's not a whole lot that I feel like is solely Nate's RP or is solely Paultin's character.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, it feels a little weird to have something else or an outside force kind of jump on that. Sporadically, it's funny, but to consistently do it, I find it a little odd.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I do like about the Xanathar. I like the voice that Chris is doing for the Xanathar, even though it's kind of like Chris's Beholder Batman voice, you know? Or,
yeah, a lot of people were saying Batman and Bane.
Yeah, I like that. I like it because it makes the Xanathar seem monstrous, you know? The fact that the voice is so otherworldly, or bestial, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's otherworldly, but I do like that. I think that definitely works for the character. What about the obsession with the fish? I got to tell you, the obsession with the fish, I think, is an interesting quirk. Now, I haven't read the book that all of these Waterdeep enemies are coming out of. Okay. I need to hit Barnes & Noble and maybe do some reading on that so I know a little bit better.
Is that Mordenkainen's new book that just came out?
No, I think it's something about hordes or Dragon's Hoard or treasures of dragons.
I'll have to look as well.
I don't know. It's the book about Waterdeep crime lords, basically. Of which the Xanathar is a really big one. But the obsession with the fish, I do remember reading something about that. Maybe I was in Barnes & Noble, having a free read, or maybe I was watching and saw it on Twitter. But he's obsessed with the fish, and it's the most important thing in his world. The fish is his, and he really showed that with the fish getting fed with telekinesis and all that weird thing.
This episode, from like the guest star point of view and the enemy point of view, I really struggled with.
Yeah.
Because I don't have like the lore background that you do.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, can we get back to the Waffle Crew? Because those people I understand.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
how I felt.
Yeah, that's difficult. Well, I'm going to tell you, I have one more question for you on the fish before we talk about the guest star a little bit more. What, do you think the fish is just a fish? Because I don't care. I don't care what it says in the manual that Wizards put out. This is Chris's use of that manual, and we know that he'll personalize things.
It's like saying, is a door ever just a door with Jerry Holkins? It's never just a door. Like, it's always something else, right? To me, if Chris is putting it in there, either it's a red herring of some kind to throw us off, or it has actual purpose. Otherwise, why waste time on it? Like, unless it's a really good, funny gag that would get the team, why waste so much time on a fish? There's got to be more to it.
I think so too. And although Holly did say something about the fish, I think, at some point in character. I don't remember what it was. But she said it's probably not a fish. It's probably some polymorph demon. And
she did say that. Which is a perfectly logical thought given the world that they're in. Yeah.
Well, and given that it's frickin' Chris, I mean.
Precisely.
And this reminds me of a funny circumstance. When I started playing D&D with my buddy Ryan, who is actually going to join us on the stream, the D&D stream that Jessie and I are planning, shameless plug, that is coming together quite nicely. We'll talk about that at the end, maybe a little bit. And I introduced him to the statue. And a statue in D&D is rarely a statue if you're mentioning it. You know what a statue is?
A broom in D&D is rarely a broom. Like, let's be real.
Exactly. It's a golem. It's not a statue. Right. Otherwise, why would I be talking about it, you know?
Exactly.
And so is a fish just a fish? I don't know. If the crew ends up using the fish to exploit the Xanathar, then it's worth it if it's nothing more than an interesting plot device that they could exploit, right?
Right.
But I am fully expecting Holly Strix to sneak in there with Diath and then have him pick up the fish, and then all of a sudden the fish is, a dragon in polymorph, or something.
It does have, fish typically have scales, so that would go along well with the whole dragon theory. But yeah, it is absolutely 100% not just a fish. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, and if it is 100% just a fish, I'm willing to bet Chris has played with the idea of having it not be
exactly.
I don't care what the manual says. We know he'll do his own thing.
Yeah, okay, so, and as he should, really, as DM.
Yeah, exactly. I love trick stuff like that, trick DM stuff like that. Like I remember in the very early Monster Manual, the red box set, like this was way back in the 80s when I got the first one where the character class in this red booklet was elf. The character class was like fighter and dwarf. Okay, those were classes.
Right.
And they said there's a section in that book on trick monsters, and one of the things that it talked about is a dragon that breathes slime. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so innovative. A dragon that breathes a gooey mess. Maybe it suffocates you. Maybe, it's like, I don't know, Toad from the X-Men movie or something. So I love the idea of a trick monster. But is a fish just a fish? I guess we'll find out. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I have no doubt about that.
I don't know. A fish, and should a fish be just a fish? Sometimes I feel like a fish needs to be a fish just so that your players are going, and
exactly.
Fish, why are you all freaking out? I mean, anyway, it'll be fun once we start the stream to see what a fish is a fish. Anyways, moving on.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about the guest star, because you kind of already brought that up, and I feel like there's a lot to say about the guest star. Now, before we get into how Jessie and I feel about the way that the guest star is used, I want to know, he's a drow, okay? And I think that we can kind of just assume that because he's a drow, that he's only on his own side, right?
They typically are. I mean, isn't that the typical MO of drows?
I would say so.
The only other drow that I really have experience with is when AI fought the Spider Queen back in the day. Yeah. And Chris Drow, Cathris, is playing a drow on the CDC. And he has a god or a demon or an entity that he sort of works for. Yeah. But all of his other motivations are typically from himself. He's not like Evelyn. He's not championing a specific god.
Okay, so let's make a guess here. Do you think that he favors Diath more or the Beholder? Or do you think he just...
because there were mention where he's like supposed to be someone from Diath's past. Yeah. And I know that Sam Sykes, who played him, has guest starred before. Mm-hmm. But I am 100% blanking on the character that he played. Was it the same character? Because everyone's like, oh, Kozin's back. And I'm like, I'm confused.
Yeah, I think he ran into them during the Storm King's Thunder arc. I don't remember. I mean, I guess we could have researched it. I don't remember a ton about it. I'm just curious as to whether or not he favors the Beholder more or if he favors Diath. Now, because the Beholder is a disgusting, insane, slovenly beast, I tend to think...
My initial reaction is he favors himself the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, there's no question.
Beholder and then Diath. I had a really hard time figuring out this guest character, and I was consistently going... can we go back to the Waffle Crew? The entire episode.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, how long was his intro in the beginning of the episode?
It was at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was between 20 minutes and a half an hour, because I was looking at the clock going, this episode is only so long. We're like a quarter of the way through. Yeah. I'd like to know what's going on with my friends this week,
Well, and that begs the question.
Hold on, Matt.
Sure.
Are you going to bed?
No.
All right, but I'm filming. Okay? I love you. Hold on, I just got a face smushed in my glasses.
No worries.
Yeah, they're all running up and down the hallway, so I apologize for background noise.
Oh, that's okay. We have Anastasia playing downstairs in my background, so...
Nice.
Yeah, if you hear On This Journey to...
I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's got some good music in it. It really does.
It surely does. But I'm going, it's 9:30. Shouldn't you people be in bed?
Exactly.
Okay. So what was your last question? I'm sorry. Let's pick up.
No worries. So my last question was, what do you think... Do you think that the interlude with the Beholder and the Xanathar was necessary, number one? And number two, how long? What do you think the purpose of a guest star should be? So both questions, really.
Okay, I think the interlude was way too long.
Okay, I agree.
I think you can have an interlude and have it bring tension and curiosity and suspense. I don't know why this one was so long.
Yeah.
It felt like it went on forever, and I hope that I'm not sounding overly critical, but it was like, I don't understand why this character is important. He's supposed to be from Diath's past, I think.
Yeah.
But we're not learning how he's connected to Diath or why he's connected to Diath. And this thing just keeps going. And, this is kind of my overall frustration with Season 4, and I may be jumping ahead, is we have so much character stuff to work through.
Yeah.
Particularly what happened at the end of Season 3 and what happened on the ship. Yeah. And it's like, that didn't happen, and it's not being dealt with at all. So I, as a viewer, am going, okay, I'm setting aside 2 hours each week which I don't know, maybe for you that's not a big deal. For me it is.
No, 2 hours is a lot. Yeah.
Which is why I don't really watch live TV anymore. If I can't DVR it or Netflix it and watch it when I have time, I don't watch it. So
I'm sure it's like not going to watch a commercial at this stage of the game, right?
Exactly. So this is like I specifically set aside 2 hours every week to watch this show. And it's not that, every show has to be 120%, but I'm finding I'm having a really hard time staying interested in season 4.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to deal with on a personal level, and we finally got them to a safe environment where they can, and they're not, on a ship or on a wrecked island or what have you. And it's like, instead of dealing with some of that, we keep bringing in guest stars. Now, as a fan of Binwin, it's always a delight to see Binwin. But that aside, I don't care about Lady What's-Her-Face. I don't care about, no offense, Sam Sykes, I'm sure you're lovely. I don't care about the character you played. I care about the Waffle crew and what's going on with them. And we keep getting diverted to these other things, and it's getting really frustrating.
Well, and I will say also, I feel like we could really use another Grandfather Turtle episode,
Yes.
Where they sit down and we go over, and then there's discussion between them, and maybe they plan it ahead of time. Maybe they don't plan it ahead of time. I don't know. But I think we could use another episode like that. I personally feel like when we have a guest star, I want to maximize their time interacting with the crew. I want to see what Paultin is going to say to him, or how he's going to respond. I want to see how he's going to react to Strix's nonsense, or how that's what I want to see, So I feel like
Paultin and Nate were deeply missed this last episode.
Yeah.
Because he's not afraid to be like, okay, we're lollygagging, let's get this plot moving forward. And there was nobody at the table, it felt like this week, DM included, that wanted to get the plot moving forward.
Well, I think what he was trying to do was kind of the aside, which, that goes all the way back to Shakespeare. You have an aside where the audience is privy to a conversation that takes them behind the curtain, right? You lift the curtain, and then we're like, ooh, but look at the secret plot that is shaping, and the characters don't know, even though...
and that's fine. But, and this is where I'm going to sound really critical and horrible, but I'm going, but the aside has to actually be interesting for that to work.
Yeah, it didn't work for me a ton. So that's kind of what I want. And if everybody disagrees with us, that's cool. If they really
tell us why, give us ideas to chew on, to be like, hey, go watch the episode and look at this, or maybe you missed this bit of dialogue that was really important. Because I got to be honest, I had a hard time focusing on this episode, so I could have missed a lot.
Well, Jessie and I have talked, and I'm not going to say we were multitasking while we were watching.
We were multitasking.
I'm not. Don't say it. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to say, but we might have been multitasking during the episode. Anyway, so at least during that part of it. Okay, so that's how I kind of feel. What about Diath's exchange with Kozin? What?
Again, remind me what was said.
Yeah. Well, okay, so he kind of laid out the plot of the fish, right? So he told Diath, all about spoilers. If you haven't caught up with the episode, I don't know why you're watching the Waffle Press anyway. But but that being said, I wonder. I was just thinking about that. So it's Kozin comes in and says, "Hey," to Diath, and he says, "Look, I'm with the Xanathar, but I'm not with the Xanathar. I'll help you take him down." Right. At the same time, he's telling the Xanathar, "I'm gonna go kill one of these fools." And so
was that his plot? Was he supposed to be a double agent?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. I think that's one of the reasons why I question, whose side is he on? Is he on the crew's side? And of course, regardless of whose side he may be on, I do think him being a drow, he'll turn on whoever at the drop of a dime if it suits him, right?
This is how little I paid attention, because I was not aware that he was a drow.
Yeah. He's all kinds Well, he's all kinds of dark elf. And he works for Jarlaxle, and we're going to talk a little bit about Jarlaxle later on in the stream when we get to Lore You Can't Ignore. But anyway, I got to tell you, Jess, I found I love Jared. Okay, and maybe this is going to go down as the Waffle Press episode of criticism that, like, you know, we get 20 nasty comments, but I got to be real. That's why we're the Waffle Press and not the other, right? Because we get a little more real.
We're not the Waffle. We're just going to tell you things you want to hear, because that's
or Waffle celebrate fandom together. We do celebrate fandom. I love Jared and I love Diath's character.
But this is one of my life mottos. I criticize because I love. If I don't pick it apart, I probably don't love it that much.
Yeah, well, and there's going to be a whole lot of love here. Jared goes to deliver his lines. When Jared gets a chance to shine, and maybe this is because Diath so rarely gets the spotlight, you know, his melodrama, he jumps straight to melodrama. He said the word egregious 3 times. I was like, okay, with the big vocab words. I was like, oh, Jared, Bubba, Jared, Combinator, just tone it down a little bit. I feel like Diath's dialogue needs to step back and not jump to melodramatic quite so quickly.
Yeah. I think Diath as a whole, especially now that we're back in town, back in Waterdeep, where he, at least from what I know, is from, and Mother of God. And
he's from the Mother of God, yeah.
Yes, he's from the Mother of God.
Okay, I'm with you.
There's background noise.
Gaia, Mother Goddess,
so we're all just going to have to do it. So I think because we're back in Waterdeep, like, I'm assuming we will eventually get an Evelyn arc where she has to go home and force whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And be forced to deal with whatever she's running from as far as the Marthain family.
Yeah.
I want, like, the Soppy Street Urgent Aladdin episodes, like a 3-episode streak where you actually get to learn how Diath grew up.
I do too.
What made Diath the way he is. Like, they're in Waterdeep. Really, to me, like, I know that there's a family connection, which is fine. I'm all about that. I love anything dealing with, like, house renovations and Paultin getting involved and all that lovely domestic stuff.
And the chair combat. Let's face it, we all love the chair
combat. Was a delight. Like, that was worth every second, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I feel like this should be the season where Diath gets to shine. Because Strix shined a lot last season as far as growing and finding her footing. I feel like especially because they're in Waterdeep, this should be a very Diath-heavy season, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because we know nothing about him, and yet he's tied to the city. So much so that if you go back to the Waffle 100, he wasn't willing to give up the surname Woodrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You remember the way he reacted? When that was like up, he was like, don't effing change the name of my character or somebody gonna get cut. I was like...
And have you ever seen Diath say there's something he wouldn't do for Strix?
Well, yeah. I mean,
that is the first time that Diath has ever said, even for Strix, no, I won't give up my last name.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. Okay, let's jump ahead because we could talk about this forever.
We may have to have a Diath separate episode.
Yeah, that's another stream, okay?
Yes.
So let's talk about
belated Jared birthday stream.
Yes, let's talk about Evelyn's charmed reaction, because I got to tell you, I really respected what Anna was trying to do with her reaction and her treating it like it's a violation and not just one round of combat. You know?
Yeah.
I've played D&D. I had a character once get charmed, and my character was on a broom, and somebody charmed me with a suggestion and said, fly back to Valoria. And in those days, the suggestion spell lasted like 10 minutes per level. So I was out of combat, basically, unless somebody could dispel me. But I was on a broom, so woo! You know.
So off you went.
Yeah, off I went, and I was just pissed as a player. Meta pissed, right? But I never role-played my reaction to it as a violation. But I started thinking about that, and as you know, you'll forgive me as we go to the faith-centered portion of the program, but for me, I feel like, yeah, hallelujah, here we go. For me, I feel like free will is the second greatest gift that God has given us. It's why we have the power and the potential to grow, because we can make choices. And so when somebody, I think that's why why we react so violently when we feel like we're trapped in a situation or we feel like we're imprisoned. And I thought, and now it was a little melodramatic. Anna was like pushing it really hard, but I don't blame her for that.
But at the same time, for a character like Evelyn, I think it makes, because she is like, yes, she's had a mission and she's had a job to do, if you will, this whole time. But she's really had a lot of freedom of choice. She doesn't have to stay with the Waffle crew. She could just as easily tromp off and go with a better crew. And now this is someone who's taken something away from her, obviously against her will. This may be the first time that she's experienced something like that, and it would be traumatic, and it would be dramatic.
Yeah. Well, and I have to agree that it works. It definitely works. It's one of the things that works best in the episode. So we have to give Anna a little round of applause for that, not only reacting in character so well, but also for bringing up something that we gloss over as players, that I've been guilty of glossing over in my own campaigns quite a bit. So, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of Evelyn, how do you feel about the emoji shield?
We'll get to that in a hot second. I think to go back to Evelyn being feeling so angry and feeling the way that she did about having her free will stripped from her, I wonder if this literally just popped into my head, if that's part of, or a large part of, why she doesn't push Paultin to express any feelings.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to strip him of that agency and that free will.
One of my favorite moments when Paultin was possessed by the Ring of Winter, which I've brought up on previous Waffle Presses, is when Evelyn says to Paultin, she says, Paultin, I've never asked you to be anything but what you are. I loved that, because it would be very easy for her as a preachy religious person, and religious people,
as a young person too.
We can get preachy. We're a preachy lot, because
we
want to give what we have because it brings us happiness and joy, right? And Anna plays that very well with Evelyn, but she doesn't overdo it with Paultin. She lets him be a hapless drunk when that's all he's got, right? And she may get disappointed, but I gotta say, good moment.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Evelyn, I am not fully aware because I haven't watched the end of Binwin's final foray for the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that she's a snail, and I know that was she upset because Strix did it?
No. It wasn't the snail. She was upset. No? It went like this. The beholder charmed her. Evelyn was about to become a wrecking ball. She was gonna
she was gonna go full Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, it was gonna get ugly, right? And in order to protect her and everyone else, Strix turned her into Evelyn Avalona Shelvig Marthane, right?
Which I adore to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just too cutesy for words. I just can't.
Right? Yeah.
I can't contain it, But that I thought was interesting. So anyway, her reaction was to being charmed and losing her free will.
Okay,
Yeah. So.
Well, and because I know kind of in a similar vein that, again, friend who I can't name because I keep forgetting to ask her permission, is suddenly this season, like I know you and I kind of touched on it, but we went from the only romantic sort of interludes is like, Strix and Diath have sort of their budding relationship, and Paultin and Evelyn have their kind of feelings, but for like 3 solid seasons, it was everyone wants to do the bard, right?
Yeah. Everyone's gay for Paultin. That was
everyone's gay for Paultin.
Yes, that was the theme.
Or bi.
Yeah.
But now, like, it's not like Evelyn hasn't been in towns before. Yet all of a sudden, now that they're in Waterdeep, suddenly everyone's falling head over butt for Evelyn. And it's like, I'm worried that because of all the religious stuff that's going on, someone's going to try to turn her into a saint.
Oh, you think?
It's going to go very, very, very badly.
I don't want her to become a saint. I do.
Neither do I, but
I've talked about this I talked about this in real depth on a previous episode. I think Evelyn should be chosen, which, when you're chosen, what it means is that you have a sliver of the god's power in you. It's like the god slices off a piece of their own essence and instills it in a mortal, and that's what it means to be chosen, right? So I think she's definitely proven herself worthy, but also she channels this enormous power from Lathander to kill the Soulmonger and freeze everybody, and then what? It goes away?
Yeah, she doesn't know. It's like, that's one of the things where, like, to feed back into, in my feeling of too many guest stars,
Yeah.
Like, you have that to work through. That alone to get you like a third of a season, a half of a season, especially with this season now being longer. I'm like, oh, sweet Moses.
Yeah. Well, no, Jess, I'll tell you how I would do that as a dungeon master. What I would do is like bring in the Xanathar, bring in the guest star, but why not do a small moment and tell Evelyn that her divine power is leaking out? Make her roll an endurance check to try to control it, or have her zap somebody standing next to her, Like,
that's good.
Bring it in. And I'm not saying that's going to happen to anybody in our stream. I'm not saying that.
Never.
But I'm not saying it's not going to happen. So, so anyway, but that's what I mean. I do think this is interesting. I love the flavor of Waterdeep, but we're losing the crew in Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Waterdeep is becoming too much star.
Yeah. It's like, what's the thing that instead of integrating them into Waterdeep, it's like it's just drowning them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
We're not seeing them become members of the city or like really have an agenda there. It's everything's coming to them.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of fumbling their way through it.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
My dream of like season 5, season 6 is that they have their own HQ that they get themselves. Because I don't trust anything that you're just handed in anything whatsoever. It makes me deeply nervous.
Yeah, I don't trust.
Definitely more so in D&D. But like they decide, okay, we're going to officially be a group. We're going to take on blah, blah, blah cases. Like, I don't care if they go Sherlock Holmes or whatever, but they decide to become a part of this community and work through it and go on adventures that way instead of just being pulled by all these unseen forces.
Yeah.
I want them to have more agency in it.
I hope that Chris is heading somewhere and we're just tripping over exposition right now. And that's what I hope. And who knows, but okay. So let's jump ahead because we don't have too much more time. How did you feel about the emoji shield? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I know Anna was delighted. And after what she was posting on Twitter about having a rough week, it made me really happy to see her smile.
Yes,
so I'm glad she liked it, but I don't like it. I think it's too silly. I think it takes away from the drama of the story. I prefer it. It's too much. It's too slapstick D&D. But
I don't mind it in the moment. I don't mind it in the moment. But on the long term, I think that of all the things that, and again, this is one of those, on one side, I completely agree with you. If she needed that levity moment, you go for it, girl, and you own it. But on the same side, I'm going, of all the things that shield could do, that's what we're going with. Like, I wouldn't mind it if it was like that, but tweaked, where because it's a shield, but it's like a shield that works the wrong way. Instead of hiding her actual emotions, it reveals her actual emotions. So it almost becomes a stumbling block for her because she's saying or acting one way and the shield's going, no, because there's obviously a physical connection when you hold the shield. The shield is going, but here's what she's really thinking.
Yes, and I could see Anna will do a good job. She'll play that up.
Oh, yeah.
She'll play that up where she's smiling at Paultin and we get storm cloud emoji or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, Paultin. And there's the poop emoji on the front of her shield. So she'll play that up. But I got to tell you, I don't like slapstick. I think we're too slapstick right now. It's too much Three Stooges. Humor is a natural byproduct of D&D, like being tied to the stake or whatever,
Yeah.
It is a huge byproduct of D&D. And case in point, when Strix casts Hold Person on Irina and she falls and they kill her, like the whole campaign could have been about protecting Irina from Strahd, and the Waffle crew offs her in the first encounter.
I think just by way of how they operate, we have plenty of humor.
Yeah.
Because we know how they are with planning. Again, that's a separate stream, but oh my lord.
Yeah.
I would find the shield personally more compelling if, like, I could live with the emoji thing. I don't think it'll last for long. We'll see. I can be wrong. They could play it out brilliantly. But I found, even as she was saying, I'm like, oh, that's cute. But at the same time, I would find it more interesting if she has the shield. It's really powerful. It's really useful, and she wants to use it. But kind of like how I almost said Jared, how Diath has a love-hate relationship with Gutter.
Yeah.
I want her to have something similar with the shield, where she'll say, "Oh, everything's fine. I'm happy. Don't worry about me." And then you have a symbol on the shield, an emoji, what have you, that's clearly telling you the opposite.
Yeah. Well, Anna will play with it. Whether or not I feel like it works, for me, it irks right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys who are watching this, how do you feel about it? I mean, let us know how you feel about any of this. We're always curious to get your thoughts.
And if you like the shield, what do you like about it? If you thought it could have been done differently, what would you have done? Because this is just people, these are our ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know. Okay. So moving on to something else that I really like. Another one of my favorite moments was when Diath starts getting pounded on by the animated broom.
Oh, I know. That poor man in brooms.
Wasn't that what happened in Barovia with the witches in Barovia? Yeah. When Strix got the broom in the first place?
He was getting attacked by brooms.
And he shouts out, "Chris, it's my birthday!"
I know!
That was, for me, that was just a great moment. I thought it was hilarious. It was his birthday. Now, that brings us to another question, Jess, because what do you think players should get on their birthday? Because I can tell you what players get in my campaign on their birthday. When it's their birthday and we're going to play that week or the week after or before, I give them a special certificate called the Charm of Life. And it's good to trade in for a reroll of an attack, or it's good to trade in for an auto save against an effect, or it's good to trade in for an automatic critical hit. So
sweet. I like that. I like that a lot.
You can look forward to that. What would you do?
One of the things that came to mind when he announced it was his birthday, because I didn't know it was beforehand. If I knew that one of my players was having a birthday, my number one priority, whether or not they got into the muck or it was all sunshine and cupcakes, would be I want their character to have a rollickingly good adventure.
Yes, I agree.
I want this to be like one of their dream sequence fantasy episodes. Not necessarily that they always win or they all, they get just pure criticals.
Yeah.
But I want it to be entertaining and I want it to keep them on their toes. And I'm going, this is the Jared birthday episode? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, and not everything can be gold. Not everything, like we were missing Paultin and maybe that threw things off. And maybe that threw off Chris's
sorely needed this episode.
I do too, but maybe that threw off Chris's plan, right? So, I don't know. All right. Well, was there anything else before we move on to lore you can't ignore that you wanted to mention about the episode?
No, I think I really think that anytime that the three of them, the team just got to be playful, it was nice because I know Anna's coming off of a Pokemon tournament. Nate just got off of tour. I know they're all headed to PAX. So just getting to see the three of them be together and have just some silly levity was nice, and I really enjoyed that bit of the episode.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did too. I like that. That was kind of like the chair, and I feel like sometimes that's when they're at their best.
Yeah.
When they're unfettered and they're just interacting. Now, Anna said on Waffle Talk that they totally planned out the chair fight ahead of time. Right.
She said they didn't plan out the names, but they didn't plan out she's like, I didn't plan on doing the whole hosting thing. She's like, but I think she said they knew about the witch stream, that there was gonna be a chair fight. They had the basic premise of it down, and it was so perfect.
And I also love this is how we behave when Diath is gone. Nobody tell Diath. Don't tell Diath we locked up a kid in the chest. Don't tell Diath that we were fighting chairs.
Yes.
And it's like I said before, Diath lives with lunatics.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
I will say, as a player, I was really annoyed when Paultin was just automatically sent to the bar with Simon. I'm sitting there going, couldn't they go on a father-son fishing trip or something where he has to have a conversation with Simon about how this is what humans don't do as little boys. One of the things we don't do is lock up other children in boxes. It annoys me
that all the little children in the street, you'll notice that they're not in boxes.
Yes. Yeah. It annoyed me personally wanting to see Paultin grow beyond that to have other people just automatically plunk him in a bar.
Well, you know what I'd really like to see is what I wrote in my short story. And if you want to read my short story, it's up on my announcement of the return of the Waffle Press as celebration. Yes. I want to see something.
I will make sure that there's a link in the description as well.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. But that's kind of what I want to see. So if you haven't read the short story, go read it. If you don't want to read it, it's more or less a thoughtful moment with Paultin and him contemplating everything with Evelyn and him trying to get up the courage to make a decision about it and then kind of just leaving the option open. Anyway, so it just that's my wish fulfillment right there. That's what I want to see. I would like another grandfather turtle. I don't think Nate has the time to watch streams like this, but if he did, if you need an idea, Nate, about how to transfer into this beautiful next phase of the relationship, I know that might kill the Lois and Clark drama, will they, won't they?
Whatever, we've already discussed how it's possible.
Idea. So, all that good stuff. Okay, cool. Well, I'm ready to jump into Lore You Can't Ignore. Jess, if you're ready to jump into it.
Go for it, good sir.
I want to talk to you first about the Xanathar, because you had mentioned what is the Xanathar versus the Zentarum. Now, I'm familiar with the Zentarum as much as I am because I've read the Harper's books. Those were the first Forgotten Realms novels after the series about Baal, the god of murder in the Mouche Isles, whatever. That was kind of the first, I think, by Douglas Niles. And then they did this whole series of standalone novels called the Harpers. The Harpers are like the FBI and the CIA.
And that's what Danny's character was. She was one of the Harpers.
Yeah, she was one of the Harpers, or at least she was pretending to be one of the Harpers, right? So that being said, the Zentarum are like the Mafia. So the Harpers are like the FBI. The Zentarum are kind of like the Mafia. It's that kind of dynamic. The Xanathar is this beholder crime lord, and that's a tradition that goes pretty far back. So for those of you who may have played this game, this is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance for the PS2. Jessie,
you said the title because it's slightly blurry.
Let's see. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. It's Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and it is a game for the PS2. You can also play it on early PS3s. Jess, if you don't have a PS2, I don't know other platforms that you could load it down to. But
I'll have to look.
One of the big bosses, spoilers, in that game is a beholder, and you have to fight the beholder. And I got to tell you, it is a lot of jumping around the screen because that fool will be launching all kinds of spells from his eyes, lines of fire, magic missiles, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. It's crazy. And the fight before the beholder is terrible, but that kind of started in that video game, at least for me. That was a while ago. That was like at the inception of 3rd edition D&D. So this whole idea of beholders as crime lords has been used.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. The idea of the Xanathar is in some of my 3rd edition books. I won't bore you by reading them, but it's been around for a while. So if you want to kind of experience the beholder as a crime lord, go play Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, the first game. There's Dark Alliance 2, and you'll kind of get a feel for that. So there you go. Anyway, and you can also look at the videos. The voice work on the beholder is really good.
Really?
Yeah, he sounds monstrous. I don't know who the actor is. I'm sure, I mean, we can look it up on IMDb probably in 2 seconds.
And Bex, it's Troy Baker.
Oh, dang. Okay. Oh, dang. Okay.
It's probably not, but that man is in everything. So I will not be surprised if it's Troy Baker or Nolan North.
It's so deep. His voice just sounds really, really monstrous. And so if you want to kind of like see it in action, that's what I would recommend doing. So it's a pretty old tradition. So we got Xanathar, who is this beholder. The beholder gets killed and another beholder takes his place and calls himself the Xanathar. And that's kind of the idea. And I don't know, maybe the Xanathar stretches across multiple cities because the game takes place in Baldur's Gate. We're in Waterdeep right now.
Right.
So,
which, I mean, any network like that, I wouldn't be surprised if it does stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. Okay, so that. Now, I want to tell you a little bit more, if you are unfamiliar with, once again, the novels and the Forgotten Realms, about House Xorlarrin. That's a drow house. So I have a resource here that I'm drawing from. This is Menzo Baranzan, the City of Intrigue. Pull it over right there. Okay, this is a 4th edition D&D book, but the Xorlarrin family goes all the way back to 2nd edition D&D. They show up in the Dark Elf trilogy novels. Okay, they're one of the powerful families in the city that Driz Duerden, the scimitar-wielding Panther Drow Ranger,
that everyone loves.
that everybody loves, although some people may be a little bit worn thin on, thinking it's time for him to die. But he won't die because he did die. And
I just want the hamster. That's all I want.
Yeah, exactly. So let me tell you a little bit about the Xorlarrin family, because I feel like this is kind of interesting. House Xorlarrin is an ancient and powerful, even though it defies drow convention in more than one way. It has held a position on the ruling council of Menzoberranzan since late in the founding era and in the centuries since the beginning of the Sable era. This prominent position derives from more than its numbers. The true strength of House Xorlarrin is the role of its males, who are accorded an unusual, some might say heretical, level of near equality with the females. Naturally, the priestesses of House Xorlarrin still hold the reins of the power, but the deal is House Xorlarrin is famous for its male wizards, right? And even for having females in drow society that are also arcane gifted, right? So normally in the drow novels and whatnot, it's established that females in drow society are born with an aptitude for clerical divine power, right? Because Loth wants all women to be all drow females to be priestesses, right? But the Xorlarrin family kind of bucks that tradition, and they empower their males to learn wizardry, and there are a lot of them. And recently, in R.A. Salvatore's novels, the House Xorlarrin leaves Drizzt, the city that Drizzt came from, Menzoberranzan. That's where this Bregan Diath, which Kozin's character works for, that's where it comes from, okay? So they leave, and they try to establish a city in Grontalgrim, this ancient dwarven whatever.
Oh, right? God.
So this is a really influential drow family in the Forgotten Realms, right? I think you said that Kozin is a fighter, right? Or he's a warrior or something?
Yeah, my brain automatically went rogue fighter, which is why when you were like he was a drow, I was like, excuse me? I'm confused.
Well, and I think we're missing an opportunity. He's probably an NPC from the book, but I would think that this would be an opportunity to really showcase the Xorlarrins, the fact that if they're involved, that they're a wizard family, that they have this very strong tradition, that they almost managed to found another drow city on their own. And that was the goal. That was why they left, and it ended up kind of falling apart in the novels. But Kozin, however, is a member of Bregan Diath. Now, that also started with R.A. Salvatore. He's like the father of Dark Elves, right?
Okay.
The story goes like this. Jarlaxle, and if you don't want spoilers, you definitely should not be listening to the Waffle Press ever. But that being said,
why are you even here? Go away, do something else.
Yeah. If you don't want to hear, if you want to read R.A. Salvatore's novels from the beginning, in the second one, R.A. Salvatore establishes this mercenary guild called Bregan Diath, right? And it's like a Celtic name. I don't know what it means. Something brother, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it's a mercenary guild that kind of operates like a mafia. And at one point, Drizzt Do'Urden's family is under attack by another drow house, right? And they're going to go down. They're being attacked by, I think, the second house of Menzoberranzan, and they're about to go down. And Jarlaxle, the head of this mercenary guild, is there with Drizzt's mother, Matron Malice. And he says, she says, we're under attack. And she turns to Jarlaxle and says, save my house. And he says, you don't have enough money or the cost. And she said, I'll pay you whatever you ask. And he's like, cha-ching, right? So here's the wicked part. You're going to love this, Jess. He blows a magical whistle that is tuned to only Bregan Diath's ears, and half the soldiers who were attacking the house flip sides and start killing the attacking house. Okay?
Isn't that similar to Diath's horn?
Yeah, somewhat. Well, I mean, somewhat. It's got some kind of magical property that's like that. So this is the organization that he comes from, this wicked, twisted, mafioso kind of brotherhood. And he comes from House Xorlarrin, which is this big wizarding family. So if you want to read more about it, read the second book in the Dark Elf trilogy. I think it's called Exile. It's when Drizzt is wandering the Underdark. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot in there about it. So Jarlaxle and Bregan Diath has a big history. And this is one of the crime lord families that we have in Waterdeep to deal with. Once again, I am worried about Jarlaxle taking center stage and swallowing up the crew. You know what I mean?
And Because a lot of people have been making references. Hold on, I need to pause because they might be going to bed.
Okay.
So I'm going to pause recording and resume. Go for it.
So anyway, that's Brigand Diath. That's Jarlaxle. It's this big dark elven mafia kind of males bucking the female system. I hope it doesn't swallow up the crew. It easily could. It's the introduction of yet another power player. And I know that's the point of this book that they've produced. And Dice Camera Action, as we've discussed, is a great big commercial for D&D products.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think someone mentioned when the new intro first came out that the guy in the purple hat is Jarlax.
Yeah.
Or they're speculating at least.
Yeah,
what I said that too. Did you? It might have been you. Yeah.
I said that on one of the Waffle Press episodes, yeah.
One of the things that I want to know is, and this is a completely unrelated sidebar to what we were just talking about, is Handrew is in the opening with Paultin.
Yes, I've been waiting for that. Where is that? Where's Handrew? Yeah.
Handrew's supposed to be gone. Like, we don't know where he is, and yet he's in the opener. So I'm like, I'm assuming he's going to come back then if he's in the opener at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand what that's all about. They gave the Raven Queen the Ring of Winter, right? Or Miranda took it to her, or to the sailor. Yeah, Miranda took it. So, and I think that's one of her deals is she wants the Ring of Winter, which is, I think, why she came to them. So I don't know. But there's yet another loose end being, tied up. And Chris did say that this is kind of the season of tying loose ends up. I don't feel like it's working so far necessarily, unfortunately. But
hold on.
Yeah.
I've got shouting in the background. So let me wait just a couple minutes until the kids settle down. This is why I wish they weren't here. And they weren't originally supposed to be. Oh, now you're crying. Hold on.
Oh, dear.
And I don't have enough soundproofing because even if I shut my door, it'll still come through. So we may have to hold for a couple minutes here.
That's okay. We only have one more thing to talk about, and then we're kind of
okay.
So one more thing that I feel like we have to talk about, and then
by the way, I feel terrible because I feel like I'm not contributing this much this episode because I was so lost between all the names and I didn't care about the guest star. And
don't worry about it. That's okay.
Okay.
Time is limited, and we've been working a lot this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's not like we haven't
been... And it's not a negative. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, me too. It's like we're so close, Jess, to having everything in place that we need. It's
crazy how fast it's come together.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm hoping that there's purpose behind that, right?
Same.
That it's coming together for a reason. And I hope that means that that we, not only that we have his approval, but that we're really going to do some good. You know.
Well, while we're on pause, because we're still recording, but I'm going to cut all this out.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about Christy?
Oh yeah, the Tohar. Yeah, her name. Her name is Christy Tohara, and she is a teacher. I taught with her for several years. She teaches language arts.
Oh, I did find her. Okay, I googled her.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I know what she looks like.
She's cool. Christy she's got a few short stories published in a book called Badass Fairies.
Cool.
She really likes fae. She likes fairies, and she's a D&D player. And I have a lot of respect for her as a teacher too. She's like us. She's a writer. She's creative.
Yes,
she
I
loves
love
fantasy. She's way geeky, kind of Comic Con, all that good stuff. And she's smart. And I don't know what kind of a role player she's going to be, but because she's used to being a teacher in front of an audience, I've already seen her perform, kind of.
Okay, yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah, so I think that she is a really safe bet. Now, here's the complication. In 13 minutes, my buddy Jeff is coming over to create his character for our stream. Okay. So it's, Christy, Jeff, somebody is either going to be a guest star or come in later as our fifth player. But as I said before, I'm not willing to have a fifth player, you know what I mean, until maybe 10 episodes in, and we really
I would say, because you are skeptical on the Jeff front, have him be a guest star.
That's my thought. Yeah, that's my thought. But Christy still hasn't said yes yet. She's an 8 out of 10 of interest, and only because it's on a school night and she'd be tired the next day. And so I get it. I really get it. But I'm hoping that she makes the right choice. I would also like to balance out our cast with 2 women, 2 men. I think that would be a better balance.
Is it possible to shift it to a Friday?
We could talk about that, but the problem is here in Utah, Mormon Familyville, everybody and their mother has family plans on Fridays.
Gotcha. No, that's fine.
That's a sticky wicket, unfortunately.
Right. Okay. Because you are on a time crunch, we will try to jump back in and get this last point resolved.
Okay. Well, just tell me 1, 2, 3, record.
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. So I just had kind of one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is the devils that we're seeing, the presence of devils, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the imp who steals the book, okay? Imps are servants they're frequently familiars, but they are devils. They're one of the least devils.
Right.
And there's like Lemure, which is like you're a soul recently arrived in the 9 hells and everybody's peeing on you and whatever. And then if you live long enough and you advance as a devil, you become an imp. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's the way that whole thing works. And anyway, imps are servants, but that's not all we had. We had the Rakshasa next door.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Well, here's the deal. It depends on the edition of D&D that you're in. If you're in 2nd edition D&D, then they're not necessarily. Then they're devils, maybe. You move to 3rd edition D&D, 4th, then maybe they're outsiders, but they're not devils. You know, so it's wiki. But they have traditionally lived in the 9 hells. They are pure evil. Rakshasas can only be killed supposedly with a blessed crossbow bolt. It's like their sacred heart. So and then we ended on the end with Chris saying Anna detected 8 fiends in the Waffle House.
Yeah, and they thought they were the unseen servants.
That's what I think. I mean, that's what I was thinking, because all of a sudden the unseen servants were supposed to be gone because the house got blown up, you know, or so much of it. And
I didn't fully understand why the unseen servants were fighting that.
Well, I think it's because they weren't really unseen servants. I think they were devils.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's my theory. I got to tell you, the Waffle Hut needs protection. The Waffle House needs protection. I mean, and I don't mean
I think they need to just raise it and salt the earth and make their own.
Yeah, and I ain't talking like they need to be careful with their partners. I mean, I think they need protection, as in they got to get some wards, some kind of like some kind of guards. Yeah. In 2nd edition D&D, there used to be this spell called Guards and Wards. It was a 6th level spell. It was big. It was a really great idea if you were going to own your own keep or whatever, right?
Right.
You cast Guards and Wards, and it lasts for several months, and then you can choose what you want. You could have cobwebs in the halls. You could have like a fire pit. You could have, I don't know, people, they grow strange appendages, whatever. But they got to get some protection, dude. Everybody be all up in their house. Okay.
Frankly, I think they need to just actually have their own. Let everyone think that Magnus's house is their HQ, but then have their own somewhere, like a decoy house.
Yeah.
That everyone destroys while their actual home is safe over here.
Maybe even rebuild it a couple times just so someone, you know, thinks they're there or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder, what is Chris doing with all these devils? I mean, Asmodeus showed up, and I don't think that you can underestimate the god of the hells. The god of sin shows up, and he just pops in to make a quick visit so that they don't, you know, mate and destroy the universe or whatever,
right.
Which we're in no danger of with Strix not knowing where babies come from. But
clearly, but
you know, but I don't know. I think it's interesting. So I don't know where Chris is going with this. But I think that they should be paying attention, and I think the crew is missing it. The idea that devils keep showing up. It's in their neighborhood.
As a viewer, I missed it because there's so much other crap going on.
Yes.
That it's like, it's hard to follow this season. This has been the toughest season to follow for me. Yeah.
I think we're getting lost. I don't think it's necessarily working, and maybe that's just the nature of the product. You know, the product is you're supposed to run into all these characters in Waterdeep. It's not like exploring Barovia in quite the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's different. But anyway, I think that kind of wraps up everything that we were going to talk about, unless there's anything that you wanted to go over before we finish up.
I don't think that it was a bad episode, but like I said, because how many episodes are we into season 4?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't.
It's over 10, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I know, because on a typical season, this one is expanded, but on a typical season, this would be like the first third is now done, and I'm like, I feel like we haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
As to what's building up, so I don't want to be like it's the worst episode ever, because it's not what I mean.
Yeah.
What I mean is, as a viewer who followed, season 1 had its hiccups. Season 2, we were kind of starting to hit our groove. Season 3 was really good. Now all of our maps are gone, and I don't feel like, because I think you and I have talked off screen, that for every previous season, their main drive was to be safe and get home. Well, now we have that.
Yeah.
So what's their new drive? And I feel like we haven't learned that yet.
I just think when we find a problem that we need to spend more time on that problem. Like, we find out there's a big problem in the church, and now we're leaving the church and there's a problem with it. No, let's stick with that subplot for a while. And then
I think there's actually too many plots going on at this point.
Yeah, so I think
for a season that's all about wrap up, we keep creating more stuff, and I'm going, this feels like the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the wrapping up so much as the unraveling or multiple strings being, the tapestry is getting more complex. It's like somebody stepped back and it's 3 tapestries now, and 10 more episodes is not going to cut it.
So like for me, to kind of nutshell it, I loved like the team moments where they just got to be themselves and be together. But this whole arc of various armies, like, I don't know if we're doing like the Battle of 5 Armies now. Like,
oh, jeez. Yeah,
that's where we're going with this in the middle of Waterdeep. But I'm very confused.
We took multiple movies to get a Battle of 5 Armies. This has not been enough time. So I'm really confused as to where season 4 is going and what the actual internal drive is that's pushing the story. Agreed. So if you are watching the Waffle Press, let us know where you think it's going. What do you think is going to happen with the Devils? Tell us leave a comment in the subreddit, leave a comment on the YouTube channel.
Help me understand what I just watched. That would
and let us know where you think it's going, because there's a lot to wrap up, and I don't see it getting done well in 10 episodes. But thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Go ahead and leave your comments. We love to be with you. And we love being part of this community, even though we criticize, as Jessie says, if we're not critical, it's not because we love. That's right. So let us know if you agree. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm DM Matt at Sage of Sorcery 1. Jessie, you are?
I'm Nerd in Real Life, all lowercase, no spaces.
Yep. And until next time, remember, there are more of us than there are of them. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.